You won't believe what my family did on my college graduation day. My name is Jessica, and I'm 24 years old. I have a story about the day I graduated summa cum laude, with a degree in biomedical engineering. The same day my mother posted my sister's finger painting on Facebook with 3 crying emojis and the caption, "My artistic genius strikes again." What they didn't know was that I had been documenting everything for years. Every ignored achievement, every dismissed accomplishment, every time they chose her crayon drawings over my Dean's List honors. They thought I would just keep quiet and keep paying their bills like always. But they underestimated me completely. This is the story of how I turned the tables on a family that treated me like their personal ATM while worshiping my unemployed 28-year-old sister's creative journey. Comment below and tell me what you would have done in my situation. Because what happened next changed everything forever. To understand what happened on my graduation day, you need to know how I grew up in a house where academic achievement meant nothing, but finger painting was treated like the Sistine Chapel. I was 7 years old when I first noticed the difference. I had just won the school district's math competition, beating kids 2 grades older than me. I ran home with my gold medal, practically bouncing off the walls with excitement. I burst through the front door shouting, "Mom! Dad! I won! I won!" The math competition. My mother looked up from the kitchen table where she was carefully arranging my sister Emma's latest masterpiece, a drawing that looked like a purple blob with stick legs. Emma was 10 at the time and had been in art therapy since she was 6 because she had trouble expressing her emotions traditionally. "That's nice, honey," Mom said absently, then immediately turned to Emma. "Sweetie, tell me about this gorgeous horse you drew. Is this the one from your dreams?" It wasn't a horse. It was clearly supposed to be a dog, and not even a good one. But I watched my mother hang it on the refrigerator right in the center, while my gold medal got tossed onto the counter with the junk mail. That night at dinner, Dad spent 20 minutes analyzing Emma's color choices and discussing her artistic vision. When I tried to mention my math competition, he nodded once and asked me to pass the salt. This became the pattern of my entire childhood. Every A+ on my report card was met with a brief "good job" before the conversation shifted to Emma's latest pottery project or her new idea for a sculpture made of bottle caps. When I made honor roll in 8th grade, my parents took Emma out for ice cream to celebrate her getting cast as tree number 3 in the school play. By high school, I had learned to stop expecting praise. I threw myself into my studies because knowledge felt like the one thing that was truly mine. While Emma spent her afternoons in various art classes that cost my parents hundreds of dollars each month, I stayed after school for advanced placement, courses, and tutoring other students for free. When I got accepted to State University with a full academic scholarship, my parents' reaction was, "Well, at least college is paid for." The same week, Emma got accepted to community college for art classes, and they threw her a party with a custom cake and invited all our relatives. I remember standing in the kitchen during Emma's pre-college celebration, watching our Aunt Susan gush over Emma's portfolio of what I can only describe as abstract scribbles. "Such raw talent," she kept saying. "You can see the pain in her brushstrokes." Meanwhile, I had just found out I was one of only 12 students nationwide to receive the prestigious Goldstein Research Fellowship, which came with a $5,000 stipend and the opportunity to work alongside graduate students on cutting-edge biomedical research. When I mentioned it, Uncle Bob patted my shoulder and said, "That's great, kiddo. Very practical. You'll always have job security." Then he turned back to Emma and spent another hour discussing the emotional depth of her finger painting series. But here's what really stung. Throughout college, I sent money home every month. Between my scholarship stipend, my part-time job at the campus lab, and tutoring wealthy students, I was making decent money. Emma, meanwhile, was 25 years old and still living at home, still taking community college art classes that she never finished, still creating pieces that my parents treated like they belonged in the Louvre. Every month I sent $400 home to help with bills. I told myself it was because I loved my family and wanted to help. But deep down, I think I was still hoping that maybe, just maybe, they would finally see my worth. I covered Emma's car insurance when she couldn't afford it. I paid for groceries when Dad was between jobs. I even paid for Emma's art supplies, the expensive ones she insisted she needed for her vision, but never seemed to actually use. And every single month, without fail, my mother would post Emma's latest creation on Facebook with captions like, "My daughter is such an artist. Her soul speaks through her work." Meanwhile, my research paper that got published in an undergraduate journal didn't even merit a mention. The breaking point was supposed to be my graduation day. After 4 years of biomedical engineering, maintaining a 3.97 GPA while working, part-time and sending money home, I was graduating summa cum laude. I had also just been accepted to graduate school with a full research assistantship that would pay me $35,000 a year while I worked toward my PhD. I was so excited to finally have a moment where my achievements couldn't be ignored. I had specifically asked my parents to come to graduation, and they promised they would. I even offered to pay for their hotel room and gas money. But little did I know that graduation day would reveal just how deep their favoritism really went, and it would finally push me to do something I should have done years earlier. Graduation day arrived on a beautiful Saturday morning in May. I had been planning this day for months. I bought my parents nice seats, made dinner reservations at their favorite restaurant, and even arranged for professional photos to commemorate the moment. I woke up at 6 a.m., my stomach fluttering with nervous excitement. This was it. The day my family would finally see me walk across that stage and receive recognition for 4 years of hard work. I had graduated summa cum laude, which meant I would be wearing special honor cords and my name would be announced, with distinction. I called my parents at 8 a.m. to confirm the plan. "Hey Mom, just wanted to make sure you and Dad are still planning to leave by 9. The ceremony starts at 11, and parking fills up fast." There was a pause. Then my mother's voice sounding distracted. "Oh, honey, about that. We're running a little behind this morning. Emma had an art emergency." "An art emergency?" I repeated, not sure I heard correctly. "Yes, she's been working on this piece all week for her portfolio review on Monday, and she spilled coffee on it this morning. She's having a complete breakdown. Your father and I are helping her recreate it. You understand, right? This is really important for her future." I stood there in my dorm room, holding the phone, wearing my graduation dress, and felt something cold settle in my stomach. "Mom, this is my college graduation. We planned this months ago." "I know, sweetie, and we're still coming. We'll just be a little late. Save us seats, okay? We'll be there as soon as we can." The ceremony started at 11 a.m. sharp. I kept looking toward the back of the auditorium, hoping to see my parents hurrying in. My stomach was in knots as I watched other families taking photos, cheering for their graduates, holding signs with their kids' names. When they called my name, Jessica. Marie Thompson, summa cum laude, biomedical engineering. I walked across that stage alone. No cheers from the audience section where my parents should have been sitting. No proud faces in the crowd, just the polite applause of strangers. I accepted my diploma, shook the dean's hand, and smiled for the official photographer, all while fighting back tears. This was supposed to be one of the proudest moments of my life, and I was experiencing it completely alone. After the ceremony, I checked my phone. No messages from my parents. I called them, but it went straight to voicemail. I waited around for another hour, watching other families celebrate, before finally accepting that they weren't coming. I drove back to my apartment and spent my graduation day alone, eating leftover pizza and trying not to cry. At around 6 p.m., I finally got a text from my mother. "So sorry we missed it. Emma's art crisis took longer than expected. Hope it went well. We'll celebrate next time we see you." That was it. 4 years of college, summa cum laude honors, and I got a casual text message like I had just finished a dentist appointment. But then, around 8 p.m., I opened Facebook to see if any of my friends had posted photos from graduation. That's when I saw it. My mother had posted a photo of Emma's artwork, a watercolor painting that looked like a child's attempt at painting a sunset. The caption read, "My talented daughter Emma just finished this beautiful piece. She worked on it all day after having to start over this morning. I'm so proud of my little artist." The post had been uploaded at 2 p.m., right in the middle of my graduation ceremony. While I was walking across the stage alone, my mother was photographing Emma's finger painting and writing paragraphs about how proud she was. I scrolled through the comments. 37 people had liked the post. Relatives were commenting things like, "Such talent," and "Emma is so gifted," and "You must be so proud." I searched my mother's Facebook page for any mention of my graduation. Nothing. Not a single post, not even a comment about it. But there were 3 other posts about Emma from just that week: her experimenting with new techniques, her exploring her artistic voice, and her preparing for an important portfolio review. I sat there staring at my laptop screen, and something inside me finally broke. Not just cracked, completely shattered. This wasn't an accident or poor timing. This was a choice. My parents had chosen Emma's art project over my college graduation. They had chosen to spend my graduation day helping her repaint a watercolor instead of watching me receive the highest academic honors their daughter could achieve. And then my mother had chosen to post about Emma's painting during my ceremony, making sure everyone on Facebook knew how proud she was of her talented artist daughter, while completely ignoring the daughter who had just graduated with highest honors from one of the most difficult engineering programs in the state. I called my roommate Sarah, who had gone home for the weekend. "Sarah," I said when she answered, "can I ask you something? Am I crazy, or is this completely messed up?" I told her everything. The missed graduation, the Facebook post, the years of ignored achievements. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. "Jess," she finally said, "I've been watching this happen for 4 years, and I've wanted to say something so many times. Your family treats you like garbage. They use you for money and ignore everything you accomplish. And you keep letting them do it." "But they're my family," I whispered. "Family doesn't treat you like a walking ATM while worshiping your unemployed sister's finger paintings. When was the last time they asked about your research? When was the last time they celebrated anything you did? When was the last time they treated you like you mattered?" I couldn't answer because I couldn't remember. That night, I made a decision. I opened my laptop and started documenting everything. Every ignored achievement, every time I had sent money home, every Facebook post, praising Emma while my accomplishments went unmentioned. I created a spreadsheet of every dollar I had sent home over the past 4 years. The total was staggering. $19,200, $19,000 I had sent to a family that couldn't be bothered to show up to my college graduation. But what I discovered next would change everything, and finally give me the motivation I needed to stop being their doormat forever. The week after graduation, I threw myself into research for my graduate program, trying to distract myself from the hurt. But every time I opened Facebook, I was reminded of the betrayal. Emma's artwork post now had over 50 likes and dozens of comments about her amazing talent. I decided to dig deeper into my family's social media activity, and what I found made my blood boil. Going back through my mother's Facebook posts over the past 4 years, I found 127 posts about Emma. Her art, her creative journey, her latest projects, her struggles as an artist, her breakthroughs, her inspiration, her dreams. Some posts had entire paragraphs analyzing her work like she was the next Picasso. Posts about me? 11 total. In 4 years, 3 were birthday posts with generic happy birthday messages. 2 were Christmas photos where I happened to be in the background. One was from my sophomore year when I made Dean's List, A single sentence. Jessica made good grades again. The other 5 were responses to relatives asking about me in comments, where my mother would give brief updates, like, she's doing well in school. But it got worse. I found posts from the same days as some of my biggest achievements. The day I won the undergraduate research competition, my mother posted about Emma's new pottery class. The day I got published in the engineering journal, she posted a 5-paragraph essay about Emma's artistic growth and how proud she was of her creative spirit. The day I was inducted into the National Engineering Honor Society, my mother posted about taking Emma out for lunch to discuss her art portfolio, with the caption, "Nothing makes me happier than supporting my daughter's dreams." I felt sick. This wasn't accidental or thoughtless. This was a deliberate pattern of erasing my achievements while elevating Emma's hobbies. But then I found something that changed everything. While scrolling through my mother's older posts, I came across a conversation in the comments from 6 months earlier. My Aunt Linda had commented on one of Emma's art posts asking, "How can Emma afford all these expensive art supplies? Those professional watercolors cost a fortune." My mother had responded, "Jessica helps us out financially every month. We're so grateful she's doing well enough to support Emma's artistic journey. Family takes care of family." I read that comment 3 times before it fully sank in. My monthly $400 wasn't going to bills. It was funding Emma's art supplies and classes. And my mother was openly bragging about it on Facebook, framing it like I was some generous benefactor happily funding my sister's hobby instead of the reality that I was working multiple jobs and living off ramen noodles so Emma could buy $60 tubes of paint for her finger paintings. I kept scrolling and found more evidence. In the comments of various posts over the years, my mother had mentioned several times how generous I was, how I loved supporting Emma's dreams, and how proud she was that her daughters took care of each other. One comment from my grandmother particularly stung. "It's so wonderful that Jessica is successful enough to help Emma pursue her passion. Not everyone is lucky enough to have a sister who believes in their art." My mother had replied, "Yes, Jessica has always been so supportive of Emma's talent. She knows how important art is for Emma's emotional well-being." I had never said any of those things. I had never expressed support for Emma's artistic journey. I had been sending money home because my parents told me they needed help with bills, not because I wanted to fund a 28-year-old woman's finger painting hobby. I grabbed my phone and called my bank. "I need to review all the transactions for the past 4 years where I sent money to my parents' account," I told the customer service representative. When the detailed statements arrived by email, I cross-referenced them with my mother's Facebook posts. The pattern was undeniable. Every time I sent money, within days there would be posts about Emma's new art supplies, a new class she was taking, or a new project she was starting. In January, I had sent an extra $200 because my parents said the heating bill was unusually high. 3 days later, my mother posted photos of Emma's exciting new oil painting set and mentioned how they had surprised her with it, just because. In March, I sent $500 because Dad said they needed car repairs. That same week, Emma started an expensive private art workshop that cost $400. The car was never mentioned again. I felt like I was going to throw up. For 4 years, I had been living like a broke college student, working multiple jobs, eating cheap food, and wearing the same clothes until they fell apart. All so Emma could play artist with supplies that cost more than my monthly grocery budget. And my parents had not only allowed this, they had actively lied about it and then publicly praised Emma's talent while ignoring my actual achievements. I screenshot every relevant Facebook post and comment. I printed out my bank statements. I created a timeline showing exactly how my money had been used to fund Emma's hobby, while my parents told our extended family how generous and supportive I was of my sister's dreams. But I wasn't done investigating. I decided to call Emma directly. "Hey, Em," I said when she answered, trying to keep my voice casual. "Mom mentioned you're doing some portfolio review this week. How's the art stuff going?" "Oh, it's amazing," she gushed. "I'm taking this incredible workshop with this renowned artist. And I just got these professional-grade materials that are going to completely transform my work. Mom and Dad have been so supportive. They're always finding ways to help me get what I need for my art. That's great, I said through gritted teeth. These materials must be expensive. They are. But you know Mom and Dad. They always say that investing in my artistic development is worth it. They believe in my talent so much. I'm so lucky to have parents who prioritize creativity and self-expression. I hung up and sat in my apartment, shaking with rage. Emma genuinely believed our parents were paying for her art supplies out of their own money and their belief in her talent. She had no idea that every paintbrush, every canvas, every class was being funded by her little sister who was working herself to exhaustion just to make ends meet. That's when I realized something that changed everything. Emma wasn't the villain in this story. She was just as much a victim of our parents' manipulation as I was. They had created a system where I was the invisible provider and she was the celebrated recipient, and neither of us knew the full truth. My parents were the real villains here. They had been lying to both of us, using my money to buy Emma's love and admiration, while keeping me in the dark about where my help with bills was really going. But they had made one crucial mistake. They had put it all in writing on Facebook, creating a public record of their deception and manipulation. And I was about to make sure everyone knew the truth, starting with Emma herself. I spent the next 3 days planning my strategy. This wasn't going to be some dramatic blow-up or emotional confrontation. I was an engineer. I approached problems systematically, with evidence and logic. First, I organized all my documentation. I created a comprehensive folder with bank statements, Facebook screenshots, and a detailed timeline showing the correlation between my financial contributions and Emma's art purchases. I also included screenshots of my mother's comments where she had claimed I was happily supporting Emma's dreams. Next, I researched the actual cost of Emma's art supplies and classes. Those professional watercolors she loved so much. $180 per set. The private workshops? $400 each. The high-quality canvases my mother frequently posted about? $25 each. Over the past 4 years, I had unknowingly funded approximately $15,000 worth of art supplies and classes. But I needed to be strategic about how I handled this. I couldn't just explode and expect anyone to listen. I needed to approach this like the educated professional woman I had worked so hard to become. I started with Emma. She deserved to know the truth, and I suspected she would be as horrified as I was when she found out. I called her on a Thursday evening. Emma, I need to talk to you about something important. Can we meet for coffee this weekend? I have some things to show you about our family finances that I think you should know about. That sounds serious, she said, concern in her voice. Is everything okay? Are Mom and Dad in financial trouble? Just meet me Saturday at 2 p.m. at that cafe on Maple Street. And Emma, come with an open mind, okay? Some of what I'm going to tell you might be upsetting. Saturday arrived, and I sat across from Emma with a manila folder full of evidence. She looked nervous, fidgeting with her coffee cup and asking repeatedly if our parents were okay. Emma, I began carefully. I need to ask you something, and I want you to be completely honest. Over the past 4 years, how much money do you think Mom and Dad have spent on your art supplies and classes? She thought for a moment. I don't know. Maybe a few $100s total. They'll surprise me with supplies sometimes, or pay for a class when I can't afford it. Why? I opened the folder and pulled out the timeline I had created. According to my research, the supplies and classes you've mentioned on Facebook over the past 4 years cost approximately $15,000. Her eyes widened. That can't be right. Mom and Dad don't have that kind of money. Dad's been between jobs half the time, and Mom only works part-time. You're right. They don't have that kind of money. I pulled out my bank statements. I do. Or rather, I did. Walked her through everything. The monthly $400 I had been sending for bills. The correlation between my payments and her new art supplies. The Facebook comments where our mother had openly admitted my money was funding Emma's artistic journey. Emma's face went through a series of emotions: confusion, disbelief, horror, and finally, anger. "You're telling me," she said slowly, "that every time Mom and Dad surprised me with art supplies, they were actually using your money? Every time? And they told you it was for household bills? Every time?" She buried her face in her hands. "Oh my God, Jessica. I had no idea. I thought they were just being supportive parents. I thought they believed in my art enough to invest in it." "They do believe in your art," I said gently. "They just used my money to prove it." Emma looked up with tears in her eyes. "How much money are we talking about total?" I showed her the grand total. 19 times $200 over 4 years. $19,000, she whispered. "Jessica, that's more money than I've ever had in my life, and you've been living like a broke college student this whole time." "While working multiple jobs to send that money home, yes." She was quiet for a long time, staring at the evidence spread across the table. Finally, she looked up at me. "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to confront them. But first, I wanted you to know the truth. And I wanted to ask you something." "What?" "Are you willing to stand with me when I confront them? Because they're going to try to make this my fault. They're going to say I was being generous, that I wanted to help, that I'm being ungrateful now. And I need someone who knows the real story to back me up." Emma nodded firmly. "Absolutely. This is horrible, Jessica. They manipulated both of us. They made me think I was some kind of artistic prodigy that they believed in enough to invest in, when really they were just spending your money and taking credit for it." "There's something else," I said. "I've decided to stop sending money home. Completely. And I think you should know that's going to affect your art supply budget significantly." Emma laughed bitterly. "My art supply budget? You mean your art supply budget that I didn't know existed? Jessica, I'm 28 years old. I should be supporting myself. The fact that I've been unknowingly living off my little sister's money is humiliating. So you're okay with me cutting them off financially?" "I'm more than okay with it. I'm insisting on it. And I'm going to get a real job and start paying you back." "Emma, you don't have to." "Yes, I do. $19,000, Jessica. Even if it takes me years, I'm going to pay you back every penny." I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. Having Emma on my side changed everything. This wasn't going to be me against the family anymore. This was going to be both of us demanding honesty and accountability from our parents. We spent the next hour planning our approach. We would confront them together, at their house, with all the evidence laid out. We would be calm, factual, and united, and we would make it clear that the financial manipulation was over, permanently. "There's one more thing," I told Emma as we were leaving the cafe. "I want to make a Facebook post about this. Not to embarrass them, but to set the record straight. Everyone thinks I've been generously supporting your art career out of sisterly love. I want people to know the truth, that I was lied to about where my money was going." Emma nodded. "Do it. And I want to make my own post too. I want people to know that I had no idea where the money was coming from, and that I don't support what Mom and Dad did." We scheduled the confrontation for the following Sunday. I would drive to their house, Emma would be there waiting, and we would present our evidence together. But I had one more preparation to make. I drafted the Facebook post I would publish after the confrontation, and I made sure it was perfect. Factual, professional, and devastating. I also did something else. I opened a new bank account that my parents couldn't access and transferred all my remaining money into it. I changed my direct deposit information and updated all my financial accounts with new passwords. The free ride was over. But first, I wanted to see them try to explain $19,000 worth of lies. Sunday arrived, and I felt surprisingly calm. Emma and I had agreed to meet at a coffee shop near our parents' house first, to go over our strategy one more time. "Are you ready for this?" I asked her as we sat in my car outside their house. "I've been ready since you showed me those bank statements," she replied. "I've been living a lie for 4 years, Jessica. I want the truth as much as you do." We walked up to the front door together. I had my folder of evidence, and Emma had printed out her own copies of our mother's Facebook posts about her generous sister and supportive family. Mom answered the door with a big smile. "Jessica, what a wonderful surprise. And Emma, I thought you were coming for dinner later." "We need to talk," I said calmly. "All of us. It's important." Dad was in the living room watching TV. When he saw both of us walk in with serious expressions, he muted the television. "What's going on, girls?" he asked. "We have some questions." "About family finances," I said, setting my folder on the coffee table. "Specifically about where the money I've been sending home has actually been going." I watched my parents exchange a quick glance. My mother's smile faltered slightly. "I'm not sure what you mean, honey," Mom said carefully. "You've been helping us with bills, and we're very grateful." "Stop," I interrupted. "Just stop lying. We know where the money went." I opened the folder and spread out the bank statements, the Facebook screenshots, and the timeline. $19,200 over 4 years. That's how much I sent home to help with bills. My father leaned forward to look at the documents. "Jessica, we appreciate your help, but I don't understand why you're—" "Emma," I said, nodding to my sister. "Tell them what you told me yesterday." Emma took a deep breath. "I found out that every art supply, every class, every surprise you gave me over the past 4 years was paid for with Jessica's money. Money she thought was going to household bills." The silence in the room was deafening. "Now," I continued, "I want to hear you explain how that happened. Because according to your Facebook posts, I've been generously supporting Emma's artistic journey, and I'm so proud of her talent. But that's not what you told me when you asked for money each month." My mother's face had gone pale. "Jessica, you're taking this the wrong way." "Am I?" I pulled out my phone and read directly from her Facebook comments. "Jessica helps us out financially every month. We're so grateful she's doing well enough to support Emma's artistic journey. Family takes care of family. That's what you wrote 6 months ago. And this one," Emma added, reading from her own printouts. "Jessica has always been so supportive of Emma's talent. She knows how important art is for Emma's emotional well-being. Mom, I had no idea Jessica was paying for anything. You made me think you and Dad were buying my supplies because you believed in my art." Dad finally spoke up. "Now wait a minute. Jessica, you've been helping us out because you wanted to help family. We never forced you to send money." "You're right," I said calmly. "You didn't force me. You lied to me. Every month you told me you needed help with bills. Car repairs, heating costs, groceries, insurance. But my money wasn't going to any of those things, was it?" "Some of it was," Mom started. "How much?" I interrupted. "Give me a breakdown. Of the $19,000 I sent, how much went to actual household bills versus Emma's art supplies and classes?" They couldn't answer because we all knew the truth. "I'll tell you how much," I continued. "I've done the math. Based on Emma's Facebook posts about new supplies and classes, and cross-referencing the dates with my payments, approximately $15,000 of my $19,000 went directly to funding Emma's hobby." Emma turned to face our parents, directly. "Do you have any idea how this makes me feel? For 4 years, I thought you believed in my art enough to invest your own money in it. I thought I had supportive parents who saw value in creativity. Instead, I find out I've been unknowingly taking money from my little sister who was working multiple jobs and living off ramen noodles." "Emma, honey, we do believe in your art," Mom began. Then why didn't you use your own money to support it? Emma shot back. Why did you have to lie to Jessica and steal from her to fund my supplies? We didn't steal anything, Dad said, his voice rising. Jessica offered to help. I offered to help with bills, I said firmly. I never offered to fund a 28-year-old woman's art hobby. And you know what the worst part is? While I was sending you hundreds of dollars every month, you couldn't even be bothered to show up to my college graduation. The room fell silent again. That's right, I continued. I graduated summa cum laude from biomedical engineering, and you missed it because Emma spilled coffee on a painting. And then during my graduation ceremony, you posted on Facebook about how proud you were of Emma's artwork. Jessica, we're sorry about graduation, but Emma was having a crisis. Mom started. A crisis? I stood up, my calm finally cracking. Emma spilling coffee on a finger painting that I unknowingly paid for was more important than your daughter's college graduation? The daughter who had been funding your household for 4 years? Emma stood up beside me. And you know what's really sick? While Jessica was missing her own graduation because her family couldn't be bothered to show up, you were posting about my art on Facebook. Art that existed because of her money. Dad tried a different approach. Look, maybe we should have been more clear about how we were using the money, but you girls are overreacting. Jessica, you're successful now. You can afford to help family. Emma needs support to pursue her dreams. Emma is 28 years old, I said coldly. If she wants to pursue art, she can get a job and pay for her own supplies like every other adult artist in the world. And I plan to, Emma added. I got a job this week. I'm done living off my sister's hard work while you two take credit for supporting my dreams. I sat back down and looked at both of my parents. Here's what's going to happen. I'm never sending you money again. Not for bills, not for emergencies, not for anything. I've changed all my account information, so don't even bother asking. Jessica, that's not fair, Mom protested. What's not fair is lying to your daughter for 4 years about where her money was going. What's not fair is missing her college graduation to help fund art supplies with her own money. What's not fair is posting constantly about Emma's talent while ignoring every achievement I've ever had. I pulled out one final document, a printed list of my achievements over the past 4 years compared to my mother's Facebook posts about each of us. Summa cum laude graduation, published research, honor society induction, graduate school acceptance with full funding, 11 mentions on your Facebook in 4 years, Emma's finger paintings, 127 posts. But don't worry, Mom. I won't be giving you any more achievements to ignore. I stood up and gathered my documents. Emma, are you coming? Emma stood up too. Yes. I'm staying at Jessica's tonight. I need some time to process the fact that my parents have been lying to both of us for years. Girls, please don't leave like this, Mom pleaded. We can work this out. We're family. I turned back at the door. You're right. We are family. And family shouldn't lie to each other, steal from each other, or ignore each other's achievements while celebrating finger paintings. When you're ready to acknowledge what you did and apologize, really apologize, you know where to find us. Emma and I walked out together, leaving our parents sitting in their living room surrounded by evidence of their deception. In the car, Emma turned to me. How do you feel? Free, I said honestly. For the first time in years, I feel completely free. Good. Because they're probably going to try calling us later to guilt trip us into backing down. Let them try, I said. I've got $19,000 worth of reasons not to listen. But the real satisfaction was still to come. Because that evening, I was going to make sure everyone knew the truth about my generous support of Emma's artistic journey. That evening, Emma and I sat in my apartment crafting our Facebook posts. We had decided to tell the truth publicly, not to humiliate our parents, but to set the record straight for all the relatives and family friends who had been commenting about my generosity and Emma's supportive family. I posted first. I need to clear something up. For the past 4 years, I've been sending money home to help my parents with bills. I recently discovered that approximately $15,000 of that money was actually used to purchase art supplies and classes for my 28-year-old sister without my knowledge. My parents told our extended family that I was generously supporting Emma's artistic journey, but I was never told where my money was really going. I thought I was helping with household expenses while I worked multiple jobs through college. I'm sharing this not to embarrass anyone, but because I believe in honesty and accountability. I will no longer be providing financial support to my family. 30 minutes later, Emma posted her own statement. I just learned that for the past 4 years, my art supplies and classes were funded by my sister Jessica's money, without her knowledge or consent. My parents led me to believe they were supporting my art because they believed in my talent, when in reality they were using money Jessica had sent for household bills. I had no idea where the funding was coming from, and I'm horrified to learn. I've been unknowingly living off my little sister's hard work. I've gotten a job and will be paying Jessica back every penny. I'm grateful for her support, but I'm appalled by the deception. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within an hour, both posts had dozens of comments. Our relatives were shocked. Aunt Linda commented, I knew your parents couldn't afford all those expensive art supplies. This explains so much. Uncle Bob wrote, Jessica, I'm sorry we didn't realize what was happening. You're an amazing young woman and you deserve better. Several cousins shared their own stories about my parents' manipulative behavior over the years. Apparently, Emma and I weren't the only ones who had experienced their favoritism and financial manipulation. But the most telling responses came from my parents themselves. My mother commented on my post, Jessica, this is a private family matter that should be discussed privately. I'm disappointed that you chose to air our business on social media. I replied, it stopped being private when you publicly bragged about my generous support of Emma's art without telling me that's where my money was going. I'm just providing the full context that was missing from your previous posts. My father tried to comment on Emma's post. Emma, you know we've always supported your dreams. Family helps family. Emma replied, Dad, supporting my dreams with Jessica's money while lying to both of us isn't family helping family. It's manipulation and theft. The comments kept coming throughout the evening. Old family friends expressed shock and disappointment in my parents. Several people mentioned that they had always wondered how my parents could afford Emma's expensive art supplies and classes. Some shared that they had felt uncomfortable with the obvious favoritism they had witnessed over the years, but hadn't known how to address it. My graduate school advisor, who followed me on Facebook, commented, Jessica, I've watched you work harder than any student I've known, often sacrificing your own needs to help others. You deserve people in your life who appreciate your accomplishments. Congratulations again on your outstanding graduation and welcome to our research team. That comment meant more to me than all the others combined, but the real justice came the next morning when my phone started ringing. First was my grandmother, my father's mother, who had been one of the people commenting positively on Emma's art posts over the years. Jessica, she said when I answered, I just saw your Facebook post, and I am appalled. I had no idea your parents were taking your money and spending it on Emma's hobbies. That is not how family should behave. Thank you for understanding, Grandma. I want you to know that I've always been proud of your academic achievements, even if your parents didn't properly celebrate them. And I'm going to make sure everyone in this family knows exactly what you've accomplished. Next was Uncle Bob, who called to apologize for not recognizing the situation sooner. I should have realized something was wrong when your parents kept bragging about Emma's expensive art supplies while your dad was unemployed half the time. I'm sorry we all enabled this by praising Emma's work without questioning where the money was coming from. The most satisfying call came from my great-aunt Susan, the one who had spent Emma's pre-college celebration gushing about her raw talent and emotional depth. Jessica, honey, I owe you a huge apology. I've been going on and on about Emma's art for years, not realizing it was funded by your hard work. Meanwhile, I barely acknowledged your incredible academic achievements. That's shameful, and I'm sorry. Thank you, Aunt Susan. That means a lot. I want to make it right. I'm taking you out to dinner next week to properly celebrate your graduation and your acceptance into graduate school. And I'm going to make sure everyone in this family knows how proud we should all be of you. By the end of the day, the family dynamics had completely shifted. Instead of Emma being the celebrated artistic genius and me being the invisible financial supporter, the truth was out. I was the accomplished, hard-working daughter who had been taken advantage of, and Emma was the unwitting beneficiary of deception. But the best part was Emma's response to all of this. She had gotten a job at a local marketing firm and was planning to move into her own apartment within the month. "I can't live at home anymore," she told me. "Every time I look at my art supplies, I feel sick knowing they came from your money. And I can't stand the way Mom and Dad are trying to minimize what they did." What are they saying? They keep insisting that you're overreacting and that families should help each other. They're acting like they're the victims here because we embarrassed them on Facebook. They're not showing any real remorse for lying to us. That confirmed what I had suspected. Our parents weren't going to change or take responsibility for their actions. They were going to continue playing the victim and trying to manipulate the situation. But it didn't matter anymore. The truth was out. Emma and I were united, and I was finally free from the financial manipulation that had controlled my life for 4 years. The final piece of justice came a week later when I received a message from my high school guidance counselor, Mrs. Rodriguez, who had seen my Facebook post through mutual connections. "Jessica," she wrote, "I remember you as one of the most dedicated and talented students I ever taught. I always wondered why your family didn't seem to celebrate your achievements the way they should have. Now I understand what was happening behind the scenes. I want you to know that your teachers always recognized your potential, even if your family didn't properly acknowledge it. Congratulations on everything you've accomplished, and best of luck in graduate school." For the first time in my life, I felt truly seen and appreciated for who I was, not for what I could provide financially. The manipulation was over. The lies were exposed. And I was finally free to build relationships based on mutual respect rather than financial exploitation. 3 months later, I was settled into my graduate program and loving every minute of it. My research assistantship kept me busy, but for the first time in years, every dollar I earned was mine to keep. I had bought myself new clothes, gotten a proper laptop for my research, and even started a small emergency fund. Emma had kept her word about paying me back. She sent me $200 every month from her new job, along with updates about her life. She had moved into a small apartment and was learning to budget for her own expenses, including art supplies. "I bought my first set of paints with my own money last week," she told me during our weekly phone call. It felt amazing to know that every brushstroke was earned through my own work. "How's the art going with a full-time job?" I asked. "Different, but better in some ways. I'm more selective about what I create now because supplies cost real money, and I'm taking a night class in graphic design. I want to turn my artistic interests into actual job skills." Emma had also discovered something important about herself. She was actually good at marketing and design. Her new job was teaching, her skills that complemented her artistic eye, and she was talking about pursuing a career in advertising or brand design. "I think I spent so many years thinking I was only good at pure art because that's what Mom and Dad kept telling me," she reflected. "But now I'm realizing I can use creativity in practical ways that actually support myself." As for our parents, they had tried multiple times to guilt us into resuming the old dynamic. They called, sent texts, and even showed up at Emma's apartment, once to demand we stop being dramatic and forgive family mistakes. "We raised you better than this," my mother had said during one particularly manipulative phone call. "Family forgives each other. We made some mistakes with money, but we love you both. Love doesn't involve lying for 4 years about where someone's money is going," I had replied calmly. "If you want a relationship with us, It starts with a genuine apology and acknowledgement of what you did wrong. That apology never came. Instead, they tried recruiting other family members to pressure us into backing down, but our Facebook posts had been too detailed and too public. Most of our relatives now understood exactly what had happened, and they weren't willing to enable our parents' behavior anymore. The most telling moment came when my parents tried to get my grandmother to convince me to resume sending money, claiming they were struggling financially without my support. Grandma called me immediately. "Jessica, your parents want me to talk you into giving them money again." I told them absolutely not. If they're struggling financially, they can get jobs like everyone else. They have no right to ask for your money after what they did. 6 months. After the confrontation, I received an unexpected message from my father. It wasn't an apology, but it was the closest thing to accountability I had gotten from either parent. "Jessica, I've been thinking about everything that happened, and I realize we handled things poorly. Your mother and I got caught up in supporting Emma's dreams, and we lost sight of being fair to both our daughters. We should have been honest about where the money was going, and we should have celebrated your achievements better. I hope someday you can forgive us." It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. I wrote back, "Dad, I appreciate you acknowledging that mistakes were made. If you and Mom are ever ready to have an honest conversation about rebuilding our relationship, based on mutual respect rather than financial expectations, I'm open to that discussion." I never heard back, which told me everything I needed to know about their priorities. But the most wonderful part of my new beginning was discovering what healthy family relationships could look like. My relationship with Emma had become closer and more genuine than it had ever been. We talked regularly, supported each other's goals, and had built a friendship based on honesty rather than manipulation. I also started building stronger relationships with extended family members who had reached out after learning the truth. Uncle Bob invited me to family gatherings and made sure to ask about my research. Aunt Susan followed through on her promise to celebrate my achievements and became one of my biggest cheerleaders. My graduate advisor noticed the change in me too. "You seem more confident and focused this semester," she observed during one of our weekly meetings. "Whatever changes you made in your personal life, they're clearly benefiting your academic work." She was right. Without the constant stress of worrying about my parents' financial demands and the emotional drain of being ignored and undervalued, I was thriving in ways I hadn't thought possible. I was also learning to spend money on myself without guilt. I bought books I wanted to read, not just required textbooks. I went out to dinner with classmates instead of always eating ramen at home. I even splurged on a professional wardrobe for conferences and presentations. Most importantly, I was learning what it felt like to be valued for my accomplishments, rather than my bank account. My research was getting recognition. My professors respected my work, and my peers saw me as a colleague rather than a source of financial support. 1 year after the confrontation, I was invited to present my research at a national conference. As I stood at the podium talking about my work to an audience of respected scientists, I thought about how different this moment felt from my college graduation. This time, I wasn't alone. Emma had driven 3 hours to attend my presentation, and she sat in the front row beaming with pride. After my talk, she hugged me and said, "I'm so proud of you. You're amazing at what you do." Later that evening, Emma asked me something that surprised me. "Do you think you'll ever forgive Mom and Dad?" I thought about it carefully. I think forgiveness is possible, but rebuilding trust would require them to genuinely understand and acknowledge what they did wrong. They'd have to take responsibility for the lies, the manipulation, and the years of dismissing my achievements while celebrating yours with my money. Do you think they're capable of that level of self-reflection? Honestly, I don't know. But I've realized something important. I don't need their acknowledgement to know my worth anymore. I spent so many years trying to earn their pride and recognition. Now I know that my value doesn't depend on their approval. Emma smiled. "You know what's funny? I used to think I needed their validation of my art to feel good about creating. But now that I'm doing it on my own terms with my own money, I actually enjoy it more. I'm creating because I want to, not because I'm trying to live up to their expectations. That night, as I sat in my apartment working on my research proposal for my doctoral dissertation, I felt a deep sense of satisfaction, not just because my work was going well, but because every aspect of my life was truly mine. I was building a career based on my own interests and abilities. I was maintaining relationships built on mutual respect and honesty. I was making financial decisions that reflected my own priorities and values. For the first time in my adult life, I was living entirely for myself, and it felt incredible. Looking back on this journey, I've learned that sometimes the greatest gift you can give yourself is the courage to stop accepting treatment that diminishes your worth. For 24 years, I believed that love meant sacrifice, that family meant putting others' needs before your own, and that success meant nothing without parental approval. I was wrong about all of it. Real love doesn't require you to bankroll someone else's dreams while your achievements go unrecognized. True family celebrates each member's success, rather than playing favorites with stolen money. And genuine success is measured by your own growth and satisfaction, not by whether others acknowledge it. Emma and I both learned valuable lessons from this experience. She discovered that she's capable of supporting herself, and that her art means more when it comes from her own effort. I learned that I don't need anyone's permission to value myself and my accomplishments. Our parents lost 2 daughters because they chose manipulation over honesty, favoritism over fairness, and financial exploitation over genuine support. That's a choice they made, and they'll have to live with the consequences. As for me, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, building a life based on my own values, surrounded by people who appreciate me for who I am rather than what I can provide. What part of this story surprised you the most? Have you ever dealt with family members who took advantage of your generosity or ignored your achievements? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please subscribe to hear more about standing up for yourself and building the life you deserve. Sometimes the most important person you need to save is yourself.